It's a Gentleman's Day.
We in 6 countries. That's
Yes.
what I mean. So that's the thing that stands out to me.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. We love y'all.
Yes, thank y'all for listening.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm Coach Deb, representing one half of the Healing Corner podcast. If you're interested in booking a consultation as well as service or a reading, go ahead and check me out at debshealingcornerstone.com.
I'm Coach Yams, owner of Healing is Work Coaching, and I help millennial professional women to live on purpose unapologetically and to help them to stop doing shit out of obligation. If you need help with that, reach out to me, Coach Yams, YAMZ.com.
Greetings, friends and listeners. I'm Coach Deb, who will be hosting today, and I have along with me my co-host, Coach Yams, as well as our special guest, Jerry. So we're excited to be able to bring this episode to you guys. The title of this episode is Mash Up Your Life, Transform Trauma into Purpose and Power. Before I do the intro, I just wanted Jerry to say hi to everybody so I can get a feel for his energy.
Hey everyone, my name is Jerry Ivory. Did you want me to introduce myself or just yeah?
You can, and then I'll go ahead and do your formal introduction after that.
Oh well, I'm Jerry, Jerry Ivory, Ivery, and I am the CEO, the COO, Chief Operating Officer for MashUp. Um, and we're a local, well, we are a Nashville-based nonprofit out of that focuses on eliminating health disparities for LGBTQ people of color. So yeah,
Okay.
excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So I do want Yams to kind of express how you two met each other. Yams?
Hey everybody. Let's see here. Jerry, when did we meet? I don't really
Yo, that's a good
know.
question. That's a good question. Like I don't know when we actually met because I feel like for one thing, I met you like years ago, and we've been seeing
hmm
each other and been in other's orbit for
Yes,
years.
we've done overlapping encounters over the last at least probably 2 years.
At least 2 years. I feel like it's been longer than that
I
because
agree, but at least minimum of two, because what is time?
what is time? I wholeheartily agree because time is very relative and like it's
Yeah.
always weird when I start talking about like time or like even like my time at like doing certain things because I'm like that's not real, but
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
I
yeah,
will
I feel like go ahead.
I was gonna say I will say that we like on purpose and just by happenstance because of mutual friends went in, I think it was April or May, to the Frisk Center,
Hmm.
and we explored that, and you had a friend with you, and then we hung out after that. I think that was the first time like we on purpose did some time together, and that just happened to happen.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Which is
Hmm.
always interesting, like how you can know people or kind of like see people around for years and kind of be familiar with other people's energy,
Hmm.
but never really engage with them for like years. But like
Yep.
we've been knowing each other or like been around each other. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's always been a pleasure. Always good energy, always smiles, and I'm just so excited that we actually get to do stuff together now.
Yes, indeed.
Um, Yes, and I appreciate you all being patient with me because child, I be doing a whole lot, and I feel like sometimes I can be hard to pin down. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, and you've been easier to pin down than some others because, some people have never been pinned down. So thank you for locking something in and actually joining us, because we love having conversations with people, but gotta have a time to do it lest it don't happen.
Hey, look, I am a firm believer. Give me a calendar invite, and
Mm-hmm.
if we put it on the calendar, it's happening. I will make it work.
Because if it ain't
So
on the calendar, it ain't real.
it ain't real.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is the transformative power of trauma. And then also, we are going to talk about the mashups, holistic services. But before we get that started, Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey, like what you've experienced and what trauma has taught you and how it's shaping your life?
Oh my goodness, that is like such a deep question. So just to give a little bit of background about myself, I'm originally from Memphis. I grew up a pastor's kid, grew up in church, and my I come from people who are community people. And one of the things, especially like you grow up in church, you grow up, and like my dad was a counselor and a pastor, and my mom was a pastor's wife, and just our job as church people, especially as church people, was a lot of times like comforting people, especially in moments of loss, moments of trauma. And like your pastor, your family, your close family members, these are people who are always around you in like very close times, so, or rough times. So I have a deep relationship kind of with trauma and dealing with like my own trauma, or just in then always being there for other people with their trauma. So you know I feel like that's a good way to kind of give my breath into like my experience with it. um but so I like I said, I grew up as a PK. I ended up going to law school, stayed in Memphis for a little bit. Then I moved to Nashville and kind of ventured away from the church. Really started getting into my career, and it's really interesting how like even after you leave something, especially when something is a calling to you. Like I said, I come from community folks, and like both on my mom and my dad's side, they were church people, and always just loving on people is just a part of our family heritage. And I end up getting into like the nonprofit space, working with MashUp. My friend who is the founder of MashUp, Brian Marshall, he asked me to join around 2020. Um, and to just really kind of help out with organizational stuff at first. And then I really started, and it was just weird. Like that was around 2020, and it just kind of took over my life. And now I'm like doing this like full time, like community work, which has been so rewarding and really amazing. But like even the way that I got to do mashup like full time was through a trauma experience. I had moved to DC and was had this great job. I was working in general counsel's office for this really large nonprofit, and it was just really amazing. But my boss was um, for lack of better words, she was really mean and had like a lot of pain and stuff that she was dealing with herself, and she took it out on a lot of other people in the office, especially me because I look like her. Because I was also black. We were the only two black people in the office, and she was like the meanest to me. And after like working there for like a year and a half, I realized how stressed I was. And I had started having like suicidal ideations just because I wasn't happy and was like super stressed. And after like I got to like a point where I was just like, I'm done with this. And I quit. And it gave me the space to really kind of redefine and figure out what really made me happy, and to refocus my energy and find new purpose for my life. But it came out of space of being frustrated and being upset. Some of the biggest changes and some of the biggest things that the my biggest blessings that has happened to me in my life, my biggest self realizations have come out of moments when I was stressed out or unhappy, and I had to really kind of make peace with that, or like come to grips with like, okay, I'm unhappy. I don't want to live this way anymore, and I need to change it.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that because I can relate when it comes to being a PK because I was a PK myself. So
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And, not only dealing with like your own family, like keeping everybody comforted and feeling love, but also, like you said, extended family members and being, a part very active in the church situation. So I can relate to that part. And then when you did talk about work too, there that happens when you're trying to find your way, y'all, listeners out there, and I hope that you guys can kind of connect with us as we're talking about this. And maybe this can help you on your own journey. Yams, what do you have to say?
I just want to add to what Jerry speaks to about the anger and the sick of itness of it all, that oftentimes is a catalyst for pushing us towards some kind of a change, some kind of a transformation. Because you do have to get to a place where obviously you feel your feelings and you try to navigate the situation the best that you can. But then there has to come a time where there's radical acceptance and you make peace with what a thing is and you take the actions necessary so that you can advance to whatever is next. Because you can't stay there. Because if you stay there, it will take mental toll on you. It takes a physical toll on you, spiritual, emotional. Like it can weigh on you heavy, make you physically ill. So yeah, I think that it's important that when you have these feelings that you pay attention to them, because the things rising up in you are communication from within.
For
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Yes, I can agree. Okay, so Jerry, the next thing that I wanted to kind of talk about when it comes to shifting your perspective or having a transformative mindset, could you explain to our listeners like how you shifted your perspective when you were facing difficulties in your life?
Yeah, one of the things about me, I am super analytical. I think anybody who like really knows me extremely well, like I'm always trying to understand kind of like my environment, understand the logic, the purpose out of things. And sometimes I think, especially when you get in like a trauma space, you get in that space where you're like really frustrated and like you're trying to make sense out of it and you're just like, okay, I can't make sense out of this is no longer serving me. And being able to like kind of shift, I think, with me, like you get in such a, a place of frustration where you're just like, what I believe and like the way that I thought this is working is no longer working, and like the things that made sense to me are no longer make sense to me. I need to figure out something else. And I think at that it gives me the power to really kind of open my mind up and be like, all right, that obviously the truths that I thought were my truths are are not no longer serving me. If this can't be my truth, this can't be the real truth because it's not doing me well. So let's be open to seeing life a little bit differently. I think a good example of that, at least for me, was after my mom passed away, and like it that was like a big catalyst moment in my life because I was so like upset and sad, and it was interesting because it's like I just started to kind of look at like everything like felt different. The stuff that used to make me happy wasn't making me happy anymore. And I really had to find like a different way of looking at the world. And I think that's kind of, trauma really, it pushes you to like kind of not be in the same space anymore. Cause you could either decide to like stay in that and be unhappy and be in like kind of like this dead space, or like you realize that you have to kind of start asking different questions and allow yourself to change, which can be really scary because you really have to go back to the basics and really be willing to change some of your basic like ways of looking at things. Um, but for me, it's really a matter of life or death. A lot of times when I get in those spaces, I feel like, am I going to choose to be unhappy, to be like this sad, or am I willing to face some uncomfortable truths? To like, am I willing to make myself be a little bit uncomfortable and like re-examine this thing that I thought was real? Can I like see this a different way?
Wow, yeah, that's an amazing way to see it, shifting your perspective. Wow. So, Yams, do you have anything that you want to say about that?
I would say that I absolutely agree. I know that I, on a personal level, have been navigating difficult circumstances in my personal life. And despite being given guidance and taking said guidance and actioning those steps, which are supposed to get me to a solution, I still remain in the same place. And like Jerry said, you get to a place where it's like, okay, now I have to question what is the reality that I'm up against? Because clearly, taking all the steps still doesn't mean anything. So, what am I going to do differently? Because this can't consume my happiness, my peace, or anything else. It's not negotiable. It is life and death because, like Jerry, I have in the past, I have struggled with suicide ideation because sometimes life's real hard and doubles the fuck down. And to be able to continue to live in a space where where my brain does not default to that as an option, I have to be very cognizant of maintaining my personal boundaries when it comes to how I'm engaging with the world and how I'm engaging with certain situations. So, for the personal situation that has had me stressed out for a while and doubled down this week, I've decided I have to have boundaries with how much time I'm going to give taking the steps that have to happen. But there has to be a cutoff because I can't give that my day because there's other things that I care about that I want to give my energy to that will pour into the world in ways like this podcast or with my coaching business or with my dance party. I want my energy and my life's focus to be on that, not on some shit that I don't care nothing about. And so you have to make a decision for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. If I could just add to that, one of the things, I love about what you said, um, like you have to take that time to like kind of really like readjust. Um, and I kind of forget where I was going with that. I'm so excited. I hate when that happens. I
I was
really hate when that. Go ahead.
While you're getting your thoughts together, I was actually thinking about my own personal experiences, kind of like a mixture of what both of you said. When you, Jerry, were speaking on the passing away of your mother, when I kind of experienced the same thing with my father. And what's interesting is before he passed away, my perspective, the way that it shifted was I realized that he was actually almost like the glue to our family when society mostly says it's your mom, and my mom was the homemaker, my dad was the one that was out working and providing for the family. So it was kind of like it shifted my mind because of what society tells you, like you got the big mama and she's the one that keeps the family together. But when he passed away, I started seeing us started to kind of like separate from each other, and then my reality, I kind of prepared myself because my parents are like a little more elderly. So I had already moved away from the nest and I was already starting to gain my own independence. So when that happened, it wasn't I say it wasn't as bad of a shock as it could have been if I was still kind of dependent on my parents. But my perspective definitely changed, and it's like you still go through that healing. You never really fully I don't think you will ever fully get to the point where you don't miss them, being with you. But I do see like life a little bit different now. So
That's because life is different, like, and I think that's one of the things, like, we lie to ourselves, or like we don't realize, like, we spend so much energy fighting change and fighting when things like, when our life changes, when one of the loved ones pass away, we like, and I believe, you have to give yourself time to grieve and stuff. And I think we do so much, but like, oh, I miss this. This isn't the way it used to be. Like, why are you expecting for life to continue or to be, the way it used to be like 10 years ago? Or, life, of course, life doesn't feel the same way it did before your father passed away, or before, because it's just not. And, the only thing that is constant as life is change. And I think we spend a lot of time fighting change, or like holding on to like our past selves, our past reality, when it's shifting. And like holding on to that past reality a lot of times is like, it causes so much stress and stuff. And because going to the new unknown, like embracing this new life, can be really scary. But in order to like really live a good life, I believe in order to really be happy, you have to be open to the different realities as they are occurring. You have to be open to like life as it is, not as you how it was. Acceptance is like a big thing. And now I remember what I was going to say earlier. I know I just said a whole lot, but kind of going back to that societal suicide ideations. I remember kind of when I was in the midst of that, I was like real depressed, and I was like, look, I don't like the way, and it was really weird for one thing, because like I think from the outside looking in, everybody thought that I was happy, or you would have thought that I would have been really good, because I had all these things. I was making plenty of money, had a great job, had a great place to live, but I wasn't happy, and I just felt super heavy. And I remember like kind of like, oh, like we could like end this now. Like I'm not having fun. And like in my thoughts, I was like, look, like before we decide to like end this, or to end this life, or if I'm gonna take myself out, like why don't I try something else before I do that? Like let me try to be somebody else. Let me try to shift my reality, like before I take this drastic measure of leaving or doing something. Let me try life a different way. Let me open up my mind so I could be see if there's a different way to experience this. And usually there is.
Yeah, and I would add to that that oftentimes people like are waiting on permission for somebody to say that you can do something different or you can be somebody different. You don't need nobody's permission. If something ain't working for you, you can say, I lay this down and I'm doing things different now. And you ain't got to talk about it. Like you have that right, you have that choice. And I just want to give that to the listeners because I know oftentimes I've sat waiting for somebody to validate or justify me being able to take an action that is all on me. And so take your power back and make decisions for you because you can do that.
Hey, amen. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. You don't want to wait for somebody else's timing, because a lot of times they're not where they want to be. So you definitely don't want to wait on somebody else's timeline. Okay. Well, with that being said, Jerry, could you describe to us like what your mission is in Mashup, and also like what type of holistic services do you provide to the community?
Oh yeah, thank you. So our mission is to help queer people of color live happier whole lives. We our mission is to eliminate or address health disparities for LGBTQ, LGBTQ people of color, and to eliminate social injustices, and really just to help us live good lives. So, we do a lot of work towards that goal, by educating people, creating safe spaces for us to create community and to educate each other and just to talk about a lot of things that affect us. Um, and so, like, you want to, there's a lot of different social determinants of health. Community is a really big one. We do a lot of things, just so people can have community, do a lot of things to help people, um, like, kind of figure out their stressors and to eliminate stress and to like cultivate a sense of peace. So, I am a firm believer that a lot of sickness really comes from us, for one, not being educated and not making healthy decisions, and then also just living in a constant state of stress and anxiety. When your body is in stress, or when your body is stressed out, and when you're like under this like huge li- like sense of anxiety, like your body just reacts different. I believe that's where cancer comes from. I believe that's where like high blood pressure comes from. It all like is stress induced, because like we are like in this flight or flight mode, and our bodies are not um acting the way that, or we're not in a place where our bodies can actually heal themselves, because we're in like this emergency response mode. So a lot of our services help people identify those stressors. So we have this program called Mindful Mashup, which literally is all about helping people identify addictive behaviors and finding healthier ways to cope with those addictive behaviors, or to eliminate those and just really live a more peaceful life and be more healthy. So that's like one of the big services that we do. We also have this project called the Holiness Project, which is really about helping people, especially queer people, finding an affirming theology so they can really be at peace with themselves. And because you can't make healthy decisions if you really believe in your heart that um, your existence in the world is not ordained by God, or if you hate yourself, and a lot of that comes from my spiritual point of views. If you have like this self disdain, then you're working against your own interests. So helping people to come to a place of wholeness, and to really see themselves as ordained by God, as something that's beautiful and intentional. See their sexuality, their being, their identity is something that was intentionally made by God, um, is healing. And that's part of like the work that we do. We got a lot of different stuff, and I could like probably talk about it all day, but I could just kind of I'll just focus on those two.
That's great. That's great. Yams, do you have anything that you want to add?
Um, that I know that I agree that I think cancer comes from stress and all the built up everything. There's a book that I read some years back, The Body Keeps the Score, and it details like how on a scientific level, all of these things having your body out of whack forces it to operate in a different way that's not healthy and sustainable, causing the dis-ease in the body. Um, and so I love that y'all have resources, education, community available for people to be able to have these conversations. Because oftentimes I know for me, I think that I was high functioning depressed because I could still be on and get shit done, and I'm productive and I'm looking happy and I'm living life and I'm sociable and I'm smiling and all the things, but all under all the layers not happy. And so being able to have spaces where you can have those conversations to actually unpack that and hold space for that, because there's power in being able to identify what you're navigating, so that you one have the language, now you know what you're dealing with, and now you can actually take actions towards remedying it.
For sure. And like we all need spaces where we could like really be so like fully honest. I think that is like the power of like having like queer spaces like of community. Because for one thing, a lot of us have similar experiences. And then, we're all, even if our experiences aren't similar, it's like a space where everybody's being their full self, and, really kind of talking about the things that set them apart. And one of the things I fully believe that I've learned is the more of us that are, enter into a space and show up as unapologetically ourselves and really kind of be honest about who we are, how are we feeling, and stuff, it gives other people the permission to do the same. And like that's important. So, one of the things I've learned, like especially being like if I was to name myself as a community activist, a community person, or a leader, is trying to do that in my full authenticity. Because, the more that I'm honest about who I am, how I'm feeling, the more that I give other people permission to do that around me. And that, uh, you know, like the act of hiding who we are is like, one of the things that causes stress, that causes, like you can't heal, you can't grow in like the shadows. Like we all, like, you need to bring light to the situation. So, that's really kind of what mashup is about, bringing light to like these dark spaces, bringing people together in community, talking and educating so that we can all feel seen and feel heard and make healthier decisions about life. It's like it's really funny because like we do a lot of stuff with around meditation and mindfulness. And it's just crazy because I don't think a lot of us really realize how much we're constantly going and just running around and like have all this stuff going in our heads, and like how, like, we walk into spaces or like even like at home, or a lot of times like you're carrying this weight on your shoulders, and really to like giving people the permission and like cultivating a space to be like, hey, let's all just stop and breathe and like really be sit still with ourselves, and let's just let ourselves be. And like, we don't do that a whole lot, especially as people of color, because we have like all these things that we are constantly trying to obtain, or trying to, like, we feel like we are fighting everything, fighting the system, we're fighting, you may fighting for, to be seen or respected because of your identity, fighting all these different things. And, we really have to be intentional about creating spaces where we can really just be and be at peace, be at rest, and like really love on ourselves and love on other people.
I like how you mentioned the light because it's kind of like a flower. If you don't give it light or sunlight, it's not going to grow. And then coming together as a community is like pouring the water into each other. So I like how you brought that out. So when it comes to any events that are coming up, do you have any events that you would like to share with the listeners that they could attend and be able to connect with others?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. We always doing stuff, honey. That's one of the reasons why I'd be tired. Uh, Lord, and Yams was just with us for Nashville Black Pride last weekend. And by the way, Yams, you look amazing. I don't know if you got your like pictures from Laquan yet, but like they
Yes, I did. And this bitch looked fantastic in those
look,
pictures.
honey, amazing. I was like looking, I'm like, because you look amazing in person. And I'm just, it always makes me feel happy.
Mhm.
Or, you see a portrait, you be like, yes, they captured the essence of that. And
Mhm.
uh
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, just that was past weekend. But so the day that this is airing, we're actually having an event in Memphis. It's our Holiness Project brunch, which we did the first in Nashville, doing Nashville Black Pride at the end of October. So November the 9th, we're having another one in Memphis. And this is again like the project that is helping queer people of color to really rectify their spiritual and sexual selves or their gender identity, and really kind of discuss some affirming theologies of different ways to connect with our spiritual selves as queer people. So that is happening in Memphis on November the 9th, which I'm super excited about. You can find the event on Eventbrite, but if you're in Memphis listening to this, you can go to the Cossack Library at 11 o'clock, we'll be there. But other than that, we are getting ready for Mashup Weekend 2025 in February. So I'm super excited about it because it comes up on the anniversary of our organization's founding date. So our organization was founded in February of 2017. So it'll be our eighth anniversary. And we're having a trifecta of events. That Friday night, we're having a karaoke competition. Then that Saturday is the Mashup Family Reunion, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be a host of different events, like some really positive, great speakers and health vendors. But then we're going to have a lot of fun stuff. We're going to have some great performances. It's just going to be a day of fun and community building and like connection. Like we want to give people a little bit of everything to kind of connect with people on different points. Like if you're a person who's into like kink or BDSM culture and you want to find other people who are also interested in that and learn some things, we're going to have a session for you. If you are a person who's into like house culture, ballroom stuff, we'll probably have a little bit for you. If you are a person who wants to learn more about yoga and meditation and the how different things affect our body, we'll have a session for you. We'll probably have a session on spirituality and talking about how queerness relates to and shows up in different spiritualities, especially African-based spiritualities. We'll have a session around that. So like we're doing like a lot of different stuff, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be food trucks. It's going to be alcohol out there. We're making it light, and it's going to be a great event. So that's happening that Saturday. Then that Sunday is our Giving Out Loud brunch, which is one of like our favorite events that we do each year. It is, and we moved it from November to February because we wanted to have more time to play, and we wanted to coincide around like our anniversary. So this year, our theme is Roses of Resilience, which is all about being something beautiful that comes up out of like, trauma, which is, really kind of like our theme for today. But like our brunch every year, we honor three people who have shown like amazing strides towards advocacy, and done things in the community that like really um, live out the theme for the year. And we have amazing food. We talk and we learn about each other's stories. You'll get to like learn about the awardees. And it's just a great time of community, and there's a lot of love. You know, it's just a space of love. So I'm excited about that. If you're listening to this, go to mashupnation.org. You can find out about all our upcoming weekends. You can register for the Mashup Weekend coming up at the end of February. You do not want to miss it. It'll be a beautiful space.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your not only your story and insight, but also letting listeners know there are outlets out there for you guys to be able to attend and to connect with like minds. Yams, do you have any last closing remarks before we close out?
I just want to challenge the listeners to take time to be present with yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes of some silence. Take time with yourself so that you can identify where things just are not working anymore, so that you can work on releasing those things and know that you have access to community. You may not have them around you at this moment, but community does exist. So just start going out there looking for community, people that have similar hobbies, interests, whatever the case may be. Community's out there, but you can shed the old you and live a life that works for you. And Jerry, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise, thank you all so much for having me. I'm so just honored to be here. And I echo everything you said. I think if I could just tell listeners anything, just don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. Don't be afraid to go out and make new friends, to change your ideas and stuff. If you aren't happy, if you feel stuck, like you have the power to do something different. You have the power to really change your life. And like being stuck or like unhappiness and all that, it all just indications in our bodies, our spirits trying to tell us to do something different, to go and change things up, to try to change our perspective. So use that as an indication. Listen to yourself when you're not happy and or when you're feeling stuck, and use that as a catalyst, because that energy can really move you into some beautiful places when you allow it to, and you don't move out of fear.
Agreed. Well, I guess this is the ending of this episode. If you are new and you come across our videos and you like it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you share with friend, family member, anybody. Okay, we definitely appreciate that. But we're gonna go ahead and end it here, and we will talk to you guys soon.